Hey there, and welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring how love, intersects with language service and even
Yeah.
a dash of artificial intelligence.
Wow.
It all comes from a recent address by Elder Gerrit W. Gong
Okay.
called Love is Spoken Here.
I love that title.
Right.
Yeah.
So get ready to discover some, I don't know, kind of surprising connections.
Okay.
Because we're going to unpack some serious meaning here with the help from expert speaker.
I'm excited. This is a topic that resonates deeply with all of us.
You're telling me.
Right.
And you know what? Gong dives right in
Okay.
with this charming anecdote about giving his wife a locket
Oh.
that was inscribed with, "I love you,"
Okay.
in Morse code and Mandarin Chinese.
Wow, that's impressive.
Talk about a romantic gesture.
Yeah. It beautifully highlights how love has this remarkable ability to transcend language barriers.
Right.
It speaks to that universal yearning for connection that we all share, regardless of where we come from or the language we speak.
It's like love has a passport.
Yes.
It speaks every language under the sun,
Absolutely.
which over 7,000 languages are spoken globally, which Gong points out.
That's mind-boggling when you think about it, yet love finds a way through.
Right.
But what's even more fascinating is that Gong takes it a step further by introducing the concept of what he calls the three languages of gospel love.
The three languages of gospel love.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not just talking about romantic love here.
Right.
It's bigger than that.
Exactly. It's a more expansive view of love,
Okay.
encompassing warmth and reverence, service and sacrifice, and covenant belonging.
Okay.
These languages, as he calls them,
Okay.
offer a framework for understanding how love operates in our relationships with both God and each other.
I love how he breaks it down like that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the first one.
Okay.
Warmth and reverence.
Okay.
What does that look like in practice?
So this one really resonated with me.
Okay.
It's about approaching our relationships, both divine and human, with genuine care and respect,
Okay.
recognizing the inherent worth in every interaction.
Okay.
And sometimes it's those simple, everyday acts that speak volumes.
Totally. Like that story he shared about the child who felt loved when her mom played with her even when tired.
Yes,
It's those small but powerful gestures that often speak the loudest.
exactly. Have you ever experienced that in your own life,
Oh, yeah.
where a simple act of presence or attention
Oh, for sure.
spoke volumes about the love someone had for you?
Absolutely. It reminds me of a time
Yeah.
a host speaker shares personal anecdote about experiencing love through a small gesture. It's incredible how those seemingly insignificant moments can leave such a lasting impact.
They really do. But this language of warmth and reverence isn't just about recognizing love.
Right.
It's also about how we extend that same warmth and respect to others, even when they are different from us or new to our experiences.
And he makes a really interesting point about how language itself
Yes.
can sometimes be a barrier, especially for newcomers.
Absolutely. He shares that humorous story about the convert and the confusion over her skirt length.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lighthearted example, but highlights the importance of creating a welcoming space where people feel comfortable learning and growing without feeling judged.
And that's so important, especially, for your journey, right? You're all about finding connection in a world that can often feel isolating.
Right.
How have you seen this idea of warmth and reverence play out in your own efforts to connect with others?
That's such a great question. It's made me realize that expert shares insight related to warmth, reverence, and the listener's situation. What about you?
That makes me think about how sometimes, even within our own faith communities, we can get so caught up in using the right language
Right.
or sticking to familiar routines that we unintentionally create barriers for others.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder to be mindful of how our words and actions impact those around us.
I couldn't agree more. It reminds me of Gong's point about church callings. He talks about them being opportunities for growth, not just burdens.
Right.
It's about shifting our mindset from a sense of obligation to a spirit of service.
It's so easy to get caught up in the have-tos of a calling
Yeah.
and lose sight of the bigger picture. But what if we viewed every interaction as a chance to serve and connect with others, regardless of whether it's a formal calling or just a quick chat after church?
It's about shifting our perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seeing those everyday moments as opportunities to express love through service.
Right.
Gong shares a powerful story
Okay.
about a stake president who noticed that the members of his stake came from incredibly diverse socioeconomic backgrounds.
Okay.
Some had swimming pools,
Wow.
others had dirt floors.
Wow.
But what unified them was their shared commitment to service.
It reminds us that service is a powerful force for connection.
Absolutely.
And, connecting with others is a big part of what you're hoping to cultivate. Do you see those kinds of opportunities in your own life, even amidst, the desire to overcome isolation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's easy to retreat when you're feeling isolated.
Right.
But even small acts of service, like offering a listening ear or a helping hand, can create those little sparks of connection.
Right.
And who knows, those sparks might just ignite something bigger.
I love that, Gong's suggestion that wards plan more activities with a gospel purpose.
Yes.
I love that idea. It's not just about adding events to the calendar.
Right.
It's about intentionally creating opportunities for meaningful connection within our communities.
Exactly. He even suggests incorporating service into these activities, which makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
There's something incredibly bonding about working together towards a common goal.
Right.
It creates this shared experience that brings people together in a unique way.
He talks about service being a language of love.
Yes.
Which makes me think about that old saying, actions speak louder than words.
Sometimes the most powerful way to express love is by simply showing up and doing something for someone else.
It's about putting love into action, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And that brings us to the third language, covenant belonging.
Okay.
This one operates on a deeper level, getting to the very heart of our relationship with God and how that relationship shapes all others.
Okay, and this is where things get really interesting because Gong contrasts this idea of covenant belonging with the very prevalent, me first mentality.
Yes.
We see so much of in today's world.
It's the idea that true fulfillment comes not from focusing solely on our own needs and desires, but from aligning our will with God's.
Right.
It's about trusting that He knows us better than we know ourselves and wants what is ultimately best for us.
There's a real vulnerability in that, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
To kind of surrender our need to be in control and trust in something larger than ourselves.
Absolutely. It requires a tremendous amount of trust.
But, as Gong points out, it's within that surrender that we often find true freedom and lasting joy.
Right.
It's in the context of covenant belonging with God and with each other that we truly discover our potential and our purpose.
It's like we're hardwired for connection, not just on a human level, but on a spiritual level as well. And that brings us to a fascinating analogy that Gong uses to illustrate this concept. Artificial intelligence. It seems like an unusual comparison at first, but hear me out. He talks about how AI language translation has evolved to the point where it can learn languages organically through repeated exposure rather than just being fed grammatical rules. Remember that funny example he shared?
Yes.
You mean the one where the AI translated "the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak" as "the wine is good, but the meat is spoiled"?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hilarious, but it makes you think.
Right.
Even AI, with its incredible processing power, needs more than just data to truly understand language. It needs context, experience, exposure to the nuances of human communication.
So how does this apply to love?
Gong suggests that just like AI learns language through repeated exposure, we learn these languages of gospel love, warmth, service, covenant, by actually speaking them, by putting them into practice in our daily lives. It's through those lived experiences that we move beyond a purely intellectual understanding and develop a deeper, more intuitive grasp of what love truly means.
It's like the difference between, reading a cookbook and actually rolling up your sleeves and baking something, right?
Totally.
You can study recipes all day long, but until you've tasted the sweetness of that cake you baked yourself, you haven't really experienced it.
Such a great analogy. And with love, it's those experiences, those moments of genuine connection, selfless service, and unwavering commitment that truly shape our understanding and transform us from the inside out.
This deep dive has really given me a lot to think about, especially as someone who's actively looking for, ways to combat isolation. I love how Gong gives us this framework for thinking about love as an active force in our lives. Not just something we passively experience.
What resonated with me was how he challenged us to move beyond simply understanding these languages of love intellectually to actually speaking them It's a call to action, an invitation to be more intentional about how we express and experience love in all its forms.
It makes you wonder what would happen if, if we all approached our interactions with that same intentionality.
Right.
If we viewed every conversation as a chance to speak the language of warmth and reverence. Every act of service as an expression of love.
Yes.
And every relationship as an opportunity to deepen our sense of covenant belonging.
It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? And it starts with each of us.
Yeah.
What language of love speaks most strongly to you in your own life?
That is such a great question for all of us to consider. We'd love to hear your reflection.
Yes.
Is it the warmth of a simple act of kindness that makes you feel seen and appreciated? Or perhaps it's the deep sense of belonging that comes from being part of a community united in service and faith.
Or maybe it's a combination of all three, woven together in a way that's uniquely you.
Right.
Whatever resonates with you, we encourage you to share your thoughts with us on Platform for Listener Engagement.
Because this conversation doesn't end here. We want this deep dive to spark even more meaningful conversations about how we can all create a world where love is truly spoken and experienced in all its fullness.
Yeah.
Until next time, happy deep diving.